What if having no close friends is not a flaw, but a signal, not a warning sign, not a character defect, a signal that your brain is operating on a completely different frequency than most people around you? Researchers in social psychology have studied this for decades, and what they keep finding challenges everything society tells us about loneliness and connection. Because the people who struggle most to build friendships are often not broken, they are not awkward, and they are definitely not the problem. So let us talk about what is actually going on, psychologically, neurologically, and emotionally, when someone finds friendship harder to find than it should be. Point 1. You detect inauthenticity faster than most people. There is a concept in psychology called high dispositional self-awareness. Research published in the journal Psychological Science found that people with high self-awareness are significantly more sensitive to social inconsistency. In simple terms, they notice when someone is being fake, quickly, unconsciously. Think about how often you have been in a conversation and felt something was off, the words sounded friendly, the smile looked right, but something beneath the surface did not add up. That discomfort you feel is not paranoia. It is your brain processing micro-expressions, tonal shifts, and behavioral inconsistencies all at once. And when someone does not pass that invisible filter, your instinct is not to engage deeper, it is to step back. Most social circles are built on low-stakes surface interaction, gossip, status games, agreeable small talk. For someone wired the way you are, spending time in those spaces does not feel neutral, it feels draining, and so your social circle stays small, not because you dislike people, but because your threshold for what feels real is simply higher. Point 2. You're looking for depth in a world that rewards surface level. Psychologist Arthur Owen developed what became known as the Fast Friends procedure, a study where strangers asked each other increasingly personal and meaningful questions. The result, deep, genuine connection formed within 45 minutes. His research demonstrated something important. Meaningful conversation is not rare because people are incapable of it. It is rare because most social environments never create space for it. You already know this. You have sat through dozens of conversations about weather, weekend plans, and celebrity news, and felt nothing, because your mind is not searching for company, it is searching for resonance, for the kind of exchange that leaves you thinking for days. For someone who asks you something that makes you stop and actually think. That is not a flaw. That is a deep hunger for real human connection, and the fact that it is hard to find does not mean it does not exist. Point 3. Your mind replays conversations, and that costs you. Clinical psychologist Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, in her research on social anxiety and self-monitoring, describes a pattern she calls the spotlight effect on overdrive. After a social interaction, high self-monitors will replay what was said, how it landed, and what the other person probably thought, sometimes for hours. Sound familiar? This is not a weakness. It reflects a mind that genuinely cares about connection and communication, but it creates a paradox. The more you care about getting it right, the more pressure you feel in the moment, and the more pressure you feel, the harder casual conversation becomes. The irony is that the people most capable of deep, thoughtful connection are often the ones who struggle most with the effortless small talk that gets you in the door. Point 4. You have spent your life feeling like you do not quite fit. Sociologist Elijah Anderson described environments where individuals feel their values, humor, or intellectual style are out of sync with the culture around them. When your sense of who you are does not match the social world you're placed in, connection feels like translation work. Every interaction requires effort. Every room feels slightly foreign. This is not a personality defect. It is a mismatch between who you are and the specific environment you happen to be. History is full of people who felt profoundly out of place in their immediate surroundings and went on to build deep, lasting relationships the moment they found the right people. The problem was never them. It was proximity. Point 5. Independence is not the same as loneliness. Self-determination theory developed by psychologists Desai and Ryan at the University of Rochester identifies autonomy as one of the 3 core human psychological needs. People who score high in autonomy find that internal satisfaction, learning, creating, exploring, meets genuine emotional needs that others typically outsource to social groups. If you have learned to sit comfortably with your own thoughts, entertain yourself, solve problems independently, and find meaning without needing a crowd to validate it, that is a psychological strength, not a social failure. It means you're not chasing connection out of desperation, you're choosing it when it is real. And that changes everything about the quality of relationships you eventually build. Point 6. Past experiences taught your brain to be careful. Neuroscientist Dr. Matthew Lieberman's research at UCLA showed that social rejection activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Your brain does not distinguish between being excluded and being physically hurt. They register the same way. So if you were left out as a child, if you trusted someone and were betrayed, if you opened up and were dismissed, your brain filed that away as a threat. And now it protects you, sometimes a little too well. That wall you have built is not stubbornness. It is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do: protect you from repeated harm. The goal is not to tear that wall down all at once. The goal is to find people worth opening it for. Point 7. Social interaction costs you more energy than it costs others. Psychologist Elaine Aron's research on sensory processing sensitivity found that roughly 20% of the population has a nervous system that processes social and environmental stimuli more deeply than average. This is not introversion exactly, though the two often overlap. It means that a conversation which barely registers for one person can require significant cognitive and emotional energy for another. You're tracking tone, body language, subtext, emotional undercurrents, and your own internal responses all simultaneously. That is an enormous amount of processing. And when it is done, you're tired, not because something is wrong with you, because your brain is doing more work. Point 8. Fear of judgment is the invisible wall. Psychologist Mark Leary introduced the concept of sociometer theory, the idea that self-esteem functions like an internal meter, tracking how accepted or rejected we are by others. For people who have experienced social exclusion, that meter becomes hypersensitive. You begin pre-screening yourself, editing before you speak, holding back the parts of yourself that feel most real, because those are the parts that feel most at risk. You want connection, but you also want to protect yourself from the specific kind of pain that comes from being truly seen and then rejected. That tension does not make you broken. It makes you human. And becoming aware of it is the first step toward moving through it. Here's what all of this adds up to. Every single trait we have talked about, the depth, the sensitivity, the self-awareness, the careful trust, the need for authenticity, these are not liabilities. They are the ingredients of the most meaningful friendships that exist. Research consistently shows that quality of relationships matters far more than quantity for long-term well-being. A 2019 study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that even one or two genuinely close friendships predicted life satisfaction better than large social networks with surface-level bonds. You are not someone who cannot make friends. You are someone who makes fewer, deeper, more lasting ones. And in a world full of shallow connections, that is not something to be ashamed of. That is something to protect. If you have been carrying the quiet belief that something is wrong with you because friendship has not come easily, I want you to hear this clearly. Your brain works differently. It always has. And the right people, when you find them, will not just tolerate that, they will be grateful for it. If this gave you a new way to see yourself, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it too.